Now, as you deliberate on that for a while, let us take you to the inevitable of this testimony that announces that everything that was sealed in the book of Revelation came from the scrolls of the Hebrew prophets. And anyone who wishes to ignore even one book of the Old Testament, regardless of the name of the servant of Yahweh that bears that book, is measured, counted, and recognized by the Celestial Lodge as a fool, beginning by the very mouth of your own Savior and Redeemer, who said himself, as it is printed today and found in the book of Luke, chapter 24, and verses 25 through 27, which reads, quote, "Then he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart, to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not Christ to have suffered these things, and to enter into his glory? And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself." End of quote. Now, the pronouns, quote, he, end of quote, and, quote, himself, end of quote, that is found in that passage is referring to Yahweh, the Son Yahweh, the Christ, also known as Yahweh ben Yahweh. And he himself confirms in verse 27 of what was said earlier by a host of this testimony. And that was, as a reminder, all the Hebrew prophets, they wrote of him and of the deliverance of Judah, Yehudah, and they wrote of the restoration of Israel, or Yisrael. So what does this mean? Well, this means that in order to find out what, how, when, why, where, and who it is of they that were written, shut up, and then sealed by Daniel in the Old Testament, and is now found in the last book of the Bible that was placed and segmented and divided and placed in the back of the Bible, which is known or called today as the book of Revelation, then they must resort back to, and they must search for whatever they are searching or looking for to confirm of what is found in the book of Revelation to the Old Testament, or as some refer to as the books of the prophets. That's where it all began. For thereby the noun, quote, revelation, end of quote, is defined in most American dictionaries, the English dictionaries, as disclosure, the revealing of something previously hidden or was placed in secret. That's one definition that you can refer to in the Encarta Online Computer Software Dictionary, the 2014 edition. Therefore, the very same, quote, two witnesses, end of quote, that Yahweh chose to be his witnesses along with his servant, Mika Yahweh, Sar Yahweh, that is now found in Revelation chapter 11, was first sealed and recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, in verses 10 and 11. And that reads, quote, "Ye are my witnesses, saith Yahweh, and my servant, whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me, Yahweh, there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. And verse 11 says, I, meaning Yahweh, even I, meaning Yahweh the Son Yahweh, or Yahweh ben Yahweh, am Yahweh, God. And beside me, Yahweh, there is no Savior. End of quote. Now this passage proves that there are more than just, quote, two witnesses, end of quote, that are measured in this one measure of wheat that is found in the book of Revelation chapter 6 and verse 6. Do you not agree? Well, if you agree or disagree, in other words, for Yahweh to only have, quote, two witnesses, end of quote, in his celestial army would be kind of ridiculous in the kingdom of Yahweh to fight against Satan and his billions of devils in this great biblical war of the worlds. Do you not agree? In fact, if the book of Revelation was that easy to be understood, then this devil and his Gentile angels would be on top of everything that would shortly come to pass. They'd be on top of everything. There's still some to come to pass, prophecies. If it was that easy to be understood, the book of Revelation, then that means they'll be able to destroy and tread down on the minds of everything and everyone in the path of the fulfillment of all prophecies of the prophets of the Old Testament, and tear in pieces the whole book of Revelation, and then destroy, quote, both witnesses of Yahweh, end of quote. Of course, along with the two olive trees. Well, that means the two olive trees will be mentally killed, just as it reads in the book of Revelation, chapter 11, in verse 3 through verse 7, as printed, and quote, I quote for you, and I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth. That's one mouth, and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with plagues, all plagues, as often as they will. And when they shall have finished their testimony, that's one testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them. End of quote. End of verse 7. Now, I prophesied many weeks ago, the date being recognized by the Gregorian calendar today as January the 28th, 2014. I prophesied several weeks ago of two prophecies. The first prophecy that I prophesied was that I saw a vision of red water. And this red water that I had this vision of was in the area of Washington, D.C., this country's capital, as well as the surrounding states such as Maryland, Virginia, Philadelphia, even going north to New Jersey, New York. The surrounding mass area of land, I saw red water, especially in the rivers of Washington, D.C. I also prophesied in the month of November 2013, as well as several weeks ago, that this is going to be the worst winter in the history of this country. And I also prophesied that it will snow in Florida, the southern state. And I stand firm on that prophecy that was given to me by my father, Yud Yahweh. Now, let's call him a liar, and let's just see if you dare to call my father a liar, according to Numbers chapter 23 and verse 19. Let's just see. In fact, many people in the world today that are among the angels of Satan and the Gentiles of other nations are running to and fro in the earth, trying to decipher the prophetic cryptogram that I just quoted for you that's found in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and the book of Revelation, chapter 11. Especially what I've just quoted in the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and verses 3 through 7. They're running to and fro, trying to decipher that prophetic cryptogram. And the question that you should have is, why? And the answer to that question is so they can kill the power of these two witnesses that they think are only two witnesses. And if that should happen to do so, if they were able to kill the two witnesses, then none or no one would be able to deliver Judah or Yehudah. Just as it reads in the book of Micah, chapter 5 and verse 8, which reads, quote, "And the remnant of Jacob, or Jacob, shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down, and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver." End of quote. Now, this verse that I just quoted for you was translated from Hebraic. It was also translated by those false Masoretes of all times, even those false Masoretes of King James I, who all guessed at what Micah wrote in cryptic of that passage. If that prophecy that was written, handwritten in ink by Micah Yahweh, if it was able to be deciphered or got into the minds of the wrong people, or even the enemies of Yahweh with a complete understanding, then there would be no reason for Daniel to shut up the words and seal the book. Does that not make sense to you? And because they did not and do not understand this prophecy of Micah Yahweh, then let my soul be the first to reveal to ye that the pronoun, quote, both, end of quote, that appears here, that, quote, Micah, the so-called Morishite, is revealing to you today, came from the original Hebraic word shanayim, which means, quote, twice, end of quote. It also means, quote, two sides, end of quote. Shananim also means, quote, both sides, or doubled, end of quote. And that verse is very much connected to the book of Revelation, chapter 6 and chapter 11, as well as the book of Zechariah, chapter 4. For thereby this prophecy, that prophecy that Micah wrote in Micah chapter 5, verse 8, went through a perfect measure of Micah. Micah never weighed using divers weights or measured using divers measures outside of the law of Yahweh, of course, that is found in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verses 13 through 15. In this verse, that passage of Micah chapter 5, verse 8, Micah Yahweh measured the remnant of Jacob twice. In fact, the first measure that Micah measured took place and is found in verse 7 of Micah chapter 5, and that reads, quote, "And the remnant of Jacob, or Yaqub, shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from Yahweh, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men." End of quote. Now, this first measure of the remnant of Jacob, or Yaqub, is the remnant that stood before Yahweh ben Yahweh, the God of the earth. Yahweh ben Yahweh is the God of the earth. They stood before him, even in Mount Horeb, or Mount Sinai, and they stood in the midst of all the nations of the Middle East when Yahweh gave them their own land after their exodus from Egypt. And when they stood as a light of the world that became an allegory to all nations as a, quote, candlestick, end of quote. Also notice in verse 7 of Micah chapter 5, or Micah Yahweh, he did not mention the nouns, quote, lion, end of quote, or the term, quote, young lion, end of quote, as he did in verse 8. The noun lion and the term young lion of verse 8 represents, quote, Judah or Yehuda, end of quote. However, there is only one measure of each of all three that were also sealed in the book of Revelation, as well as the Gentiles that were also measured as one, bringing this perfect four-square foundation of measure that was performed by Micah Yahweh to a measurement of a total of 4 measures. And these 4 measures are now known by the Celestial Lodge as 4 categories. And those 4 categories are identified as category number 1, the finger measurement. Category number 2 is the hand breadth measurement. Category number 3 is the span measurement. And category number 4 measurement is the cubit measurement. Now, all 4 of these measurements, all 4 measures are part of the 4 trays of the pair of balances, which includes one measure of wheat for a penny, which are those of Yehuda, Judah, that are perfect and lacking nothing essential to the whole. There are those of Judah who are complete of that nature or kind, and they are in a state of the highest excellence without flaws. They are excellent and complete beyond practical or theoretical improvement. They are excellent and practical, as well as the theoretical improvement that they have undergone by being taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh, those who are pure and unmixed with grass, green grass, or weeds, or they're not even mixed with the tares. This one measure of wheat for a penny includes the first fruit of Yahweh, going back to 1979, which is the remnant of Jacob, who were measured by the finger measurement. Some are still around today. Those of the finger measurement are the first fruit, and they will never leave Yahweh ben Yahweh. They were measured by Micah and prophesied to never leave Yahweh ben Yahweh, which was an act of process performed by Yahweh to ascertain the extent of them, the quality and quantity, and the dimension of those that are gathered as the lion in the midst of many people today in America. This same one measure of wheat for a penny are also those who are measured by the handbreadth measurement as the just and exact, accurate, upright, by total righteousness. Those who stay in the truth and are fair to others, they are honorable to Yahweh and to Yahweh ben Yahweh and to each other. They are also fair in their own individual dealings and actions with other people who are the remnant of Jacob or Jacob. And the three measures of barley for a penny that was measured by Micah Yahweh in weights are connected to a system of units for expressing a heaviness of evilness and wickedness that is performed by a mass of people, as well as the three measures of barley for a penny that are weighed as a various people of the Gentiles, which are those who surrounds the remnant of Jacob that is seen today among several of these people that are more than one kind of nation in America, which is weighed by the span measurement, which is an indefinite number that are in the forest of America, as many people of this great Babylon or Babylonian nation or Babylonian nation today as the young lions of Judah that are sitting, waiting, and resting in the midst of the span measurement of balances, just as it reads in Revelation chapter 6 and verse 6. I repeat, the Gentiles were not only measured by Micah Yahweh, but they were also weighed as the wicked balance of deceitful weights that will be destroyed. But we'll testify of them in a later testimony.